Want people to respect you without shouting or trying to prove yourself? The truth is, real authority comes from the words you choose and the calm confidence behind them. In this video, you'll learn 7 phrases that instantly command respect, phrases that set boundaries, show strength, and make people take you seriously. Use them and watch how quickly others start listening, following, and valuing your presence. Number 1. I've made my decision. There are few things that command respect like decisiveness. The majority of people have a tendency to be uncertain, to question their decisions, and to allow other people to influence them. You immediately shut the door to any potential manipulation when you declare, "I have already made up my mind." It is not aggressive, it is definitive. Seneca once made the statement, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." Firm decisions serve to anchor your authority, whereas constantly wavering scatters it in every direction. You convey an image of strength when you make a commitment to a particular course of action. Although there may be some who hold a different opinion, they will nonetheless acknowledge your determination. This expression indicates that you place a higher emphasis on your own decision-making than on the opinions of those who are around you. When it comes to the shortcomings that people are capable of exhibiting, indecisiveness is among the most significant. It is a sign that you either do not have faith in your own judgment or that you are excessively preoccupied with the satisfaction of other people. Both of these encourage a lack of respect. People will perceive an opportunity to exert pressure, debate, or manipulate you until you give in if you show any signs of hesitation. However, that opportunity vanishes as soon as you firmly state, "I have arrived at my decision." When you communicate that the act of persuasion has come to an end, you are also communicating that the discussion has reached its conclusion. This does not imply that you should become obstinate or refuse to take sound counsel into consideration. Rather than mindless stubbornness, reason was something that the Stoics held in high regard. My goal is to find the truth, so if someone can demonstrate to me that my actions or thoughts are not in accordance with it, I will gladly make the necessary changes, Marcus Aurelius told himself. However, once you have evaluated all of the available possibilities and have made a decision about which course to take, the time for discussion has come to an end. From that moment forth, steadfastness is considered more respectable than hesitation. Imagine a leader during a battle. A general who is always altering the orders that he gives is not held in high regard by soldiers. They always follow the person who is capable of making decisions with speed, clarity, and conviction. People are brought together by steadfastness, even if the decision is not ideal. Doubt is the result of vacillation. Similarly, if you demonstrate confidence in the decisions you make, people in your personal and professional life will have a greater degree of respect for you. Epictetus, who was another Stoic, offered the following advice. First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Having an understanding of the principles you hold most dear, and then proceeding to act without making any apologies, is the embodiment of decisiveness. It becomes easier to make decisions when you have a good understanding of what you believe in, what you stand for, and what you are ready to accept. When it is simple to make choices, power inevitably follows as a result. Therefore, the next time someone attempts to exert pressure on you or tries to convince you with a continuous barrage of arguments, do your best to ignore the noise. "I have arrived at a decision," is what you should say to them while looking them directly in the eye and making sure that your tone of voice is stable and controlled. You will observe how rapidly the discussion comes to a conclusion and how the atmosphere in the room changes. You were able to get what you wanted because you spoke with the quiet confidence of someone who is certain of what they want, not because you yelled or forced your way through. Number 2, Let's keep this professional. Sarcasm, insults, and personal assaults are some ways that disrespect can covertly creep into a situation. As a result of many others responding in a similar manner, the situation gets out of hand and turns into an argument that is filled with shouting. However, the tone can be changed immediately with a gentle reminder. Let's keep this professional. If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit, taught Epictetus. When you say this term, you are refusing to be drawn into infantile conduct. You establish limits in a way that is free of wrath, however. It demonstrates to people that you will not tolerate disrespect, but also that you will not lose your composure either. The enduring respect that is earned here is a result of the delicate balance between toughness and kindness. When it comes to disrespect, the concern is that it can draw you into a fight that you do not need to win. You are immediately inclined to retaliate with a sarcastic comment of your own when someone makes a sarcastic remark. The discussion becomes less focused on the problem that is being discussed and more on who can assert linguistic dominance over the other participants. However, the second you become a participant in that game, you reduce yourself to their level of behavior. When you demonstrate to them that they have succeeded in provoking you, you are giving them control over you. This lack of composure was something that the Stoics cautioned people against. Marcus Aurelius penned the following words: "When it comes to getting revenge on someone, the most effective method is to avoid becoming like the person you are trying to get revenge on. You elevate yourself above others when you maintain a professional demeanor in situations where others are attempting to include you in petty disputes. You are able to maintain your sense of dignity, and in the long run, that sense of dignity will garner you more respect than any creative insult you could ever come up with." In addition, this statement safeguards your reputation. In professional contexts, people remember not only what you said, but also how you conducted yourself when you were under pressure. When you maintain a cool and steady demeanor while emphasizing that you want to keep the interaction professional, you are conveying the message that you are not going to allow yourself to be brought to a state of immaturity. It gives others the impression that you are a leader, someone who is capable of de-escalating situations rather than making them worse. Furthermore, the basis of achieving long-term respect is leadership. At its most fundamental level, this concept is reflected in the advice that Seneca offered when he said, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." An insult might hurt for a fleeting period, but if you react with rage, the damage will persist for a much longer time. It is possible that you could come to regret what you say, or even worse, that you will harm your relationships and possibilities. However, you can completely avoid the trap by simply using this single word. As you maintain your composure, you allow the other individual to expose their own inability to exercise self-control. Give consideration to the power dynamic that is in play. When you say, "Let's keep this professional," you are not just establishing limits for the other person, but you are also defining the atmosphere itself. You are assuming responsibility for the atmosphere, making it clear that this discussion will be conducted in a manner that is respectful and focused. The individual who has actual power is the one who can govern the surroundings without having to raise their voice at all. Just because you don't show your emotions doesn't mean you're cold or dismissive. It indicates that you are focusing on what is most important to you. Professionalism is not about completely eliminating emotion. Rather, it is about ensuring that emotions do not take precedence over rationality. The emphasis should be placed on discovering answers rather than engaging in discussions. And in doing so, you earn the quiet respect of all of the people who are observing you, even those who might not speak anything. Therefore, when contempt is present, Do not give in to the temptation to react. There is no point in exerting yourself to demonstrate that you can yell louder, think faster, or get angrier than anyone else. Rely on composure instead. Remind them that we need to maintain a professional relationship by looking them directly in the eyes. You are going to observe how rapidly the tone changes, how the insults lose their ability to hurt, and how others start to view you as someone who not only requires respect, but also naturally commands it. Number 3. That doesn't work for me. Although this phrase is quite brief, it has a great deal of significance. Individuals frequently consent to requests because they are afraid of engaging in dispute. When they really mean to say no, they say yes instead. However, it is not rude nor apologetic to state that does not work for me. It is a boundary that is stated with a sense of self-assurance. If it is not right, do not do it, Marcus Aurelius would tell himself every day as a reminder. Don't make a statement if it is not truthful. When you choose to live your life according to this idea, it signifies that you show respect for the boundaries that you yourself have set for yourself, and that you anticipate others to do the same. You are sending a message that your time, energy, and values are not negotiable when you utilize this phrase. Furthermore, when you have that level of self-respect, other people appreciate you more. The compulsion to satisfy others is one of the most significant pitfalls in life. People are so afraid of being turned down or disapproved of that they will extend themselves to their absolute limit, agreeing to activities that exhaust them. On the other hand, this desire to gain the approval of others comes at a price. It diminishes your power to command and control. Other people are aware of this and take advantage of it. They come to the conclusion that if they apply sufficient pressure, you will eventually give in. Every time you make a compromise that involves your limits, you lose a little bit of respect for yourself. The Stoic philosophers were cognizant of the fact that living in accordance with the expectations of other people could be perilous. How much longer are you going to wait before you start demanding the best for yourself? Is a question that Epictetus once asked. Boundaries are that demand. When you say that doesn't work for me, you are making a statement that your life, your beliefs, and your priorities are important. It is not considered selfish. It is considered self-respect. Furthermore, the only individuals who can anticipate receiving respect from others are those who have regard for themselves. In addition, this statement provides you with protection from being manipulated. People frequently resort to tactics such as flattery, guilt, or creating a sense of urgency in order to coerce you into making choices that benefit others rather than yourself. You can eliminate their leverage by maintaining a calm demeanor and responding with, "That doesn't work for me." You are not rejecting the individual in question. Rather, you are rejecting the conditions of the agreement. And you are doing it without any resentment, which makes it a great deal more effective. No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, Seneca said as a word of caution, because he is not allowed to demonstrate his own abilities. The establishment of limits becomes a challenge unto itself. It puts your courage to the test when you take the chance of letting other people down. However, when you successfully complete that examination, you demonstrate to yourself and to others that the value you possess is not dependent on whether or not they approve of you. Additionally, there is an understated potency that comes with the impartiality of this sentence. It should be noted that it does not attempt to provide an explanation, defense, or justification. The arguments that you are presenting do not provide any basis for discussion. You are not asking for someone to try to convince you. You are only stating a reality, which is that something does not align with you. Furthermore, truths do not need to be shouted in order to be respected. In practice, this term is freeing. If a friend is pressuring you to do something that you do not believe in, if someone asks you to remain over your scheduled work hours once again, or if you are being manipulated by someone who is attempting to corner you, you should look them in the eye calmly and explain, "That is not something that I can do." Pay attention to how the energy changes. In that time, the respect you receive won't come from how loud you are, but from the calm firmness with which you assert your boundaries. Number 4. I'll get back to you on that. Individuals frequently have a sense of urgency to make decisions right away. However, mistakes are more likely to occur when one rushes, and it also gives the impression that one is weak. You can regain control of the timeline by telling someone, "I will get back to you on that." Your ability to deliberate before taking action and your resistance to being readily influenced are both demonstrated by you. "Delay is the most effective treatment for anger," stated Seneca. The same may be said when it comes to making decisions. You allow rationality to take precedence over impulse by postponing your response. People who are able to take their time before responding to a question demonstrate power. This phrase is a way to communicate to people that you do things at your own speed and not at the speed that they want you to do. Furthermore, there is no greater way to earn respect than to demonstrate a sense of calm control over time and decisions. In a world that is preoccupied with speed, where people anticipate receiving responses immediately and want decisions to be made quickly, the capacity to take a halt is practically unheard of. When faced with pressure, the majority of people get overwhelmed with fear. They will act out of passion rather than reason, agree to terms that they do not comprehend, or say yes to obligations that they do not wish to make. However, when you calmly answer something like, "I'll get back to you on that," you are demonstrating that you are not going to allow yourself to be pushed. You have the ability to make your own decisions. You are not a slave to the sense of haste. This notion of pausing was held in the highest regard by the Stoic thinkers. Epictetus instructed, "Be certain that it is your own opinion that provokes you if someone else provokes you, because that is the case." The same is true when it comes to decision-making. It is not the pressure itself that compels you to do something, but rather your response to it. You can regain control of that reaction by giving yourself time to respond to a request after it is made. You opt to follow logic rather than acting on impulse. In addition, using this sentence communicates a message to other individuals in a subtle yet impactful manner. You are someone who acts intentionally. Although it is possible that people will not enjoy having to wait, they will admire the individual who refuses to be put in a corner. The soundness of their responses, not the speed with which they provide them, is the primary factor in the evaluation of leaders. Giving a quick yes might be enough to get an idea approved at the time, but it frequently leads to regret in the future. On the other hand, a thoughtful delay results in greater, more constant regard for the individual. Marcus Aurelius, as a means of reminding himself, wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. It is not the request itself that weakens you when someone encourages you to provide an answer in a short amount of time. Rather, it is your willingness to give into it. You are discreetly suggesting that your judgment is more essential than their timeline by calmly saying, 'I'll get back to you on that.'" Consider how this concept plays out in the context of everyday life. You are being encouraged by a coworker to make a commitment to additional work. You take a moment to consider your response rather than immediately agreeing, and then you say, "I'll get back to you on that." You are being pressured by a salesperson to make a purchase right now. You do not engage in arguments or defenses. Instead, you just state, "I will get back to you on that." You are put back in control of the situation, when you use this straightforward sentence, which eliminates the sense of haste that is sometimes associated with making a decision. The person who is in charge of the timing is the one who is in charge of the dynamic in every interaction. People who act without thinking expose their vulnerabilities since they are easily pressured into making errors. Individuals that are deliberate garner respect because they take the time to consider their actions prior to acting on them. As far as making it plain that you are intentionally exhibiting strength goes, there is no better method than quietly postponing your response. Therefore, bear in mind that you are not need to raise your voice, engage in arguments, or defend yourself when other people attempt to pressure you into doing something you do not want to do. All that you have to do is take a moment, breathe, and then say, "I will get back to you on that." You will discover that people will cease to pressure you once they come to the realization that they do not have the ability to control you. You are in control of yourself. Number 5. I hear what you're saying. Just because you are listening to what someone is saying does not necessarily mean that you agree with what they are saying. Dismissing individuals too soon is a mistake that many leaders do, and as a result, they lose the respect of their followers. However, you can acknowledge the other person's feelings without giving up your own authority by saying something like, "I understand what you're trying to tell me." Possess a single mouth but two ears, which is a sign that we should listen twice as much as we speak, said Epictetus. Listening in and of itself is a subtle sort of power. Even if the ultimate choice does not go in their favor, people still have respect for individuals who listen to them and take their opinions into consideration. This phrase helps you maintain a sense of serenity, reduces the amount of tension, and positions you as a person who prioritizes reason above ego. The belief that one must dominate every conversation in order to get respect is one of the most significant errors that people commit when they are trying to earn respect. They do not hesitate to interrupt, speak over other people, and quickly force their opinions on others. However, respect is not something that is earned by making a lot of noise. It is something that is earned by being present. By listening attentively and refraining from rushing to speak, you present an air of calm confidence and authority. You don't have to try to prove yourself to anyone, since you are self-assured enough to listen to what other people have to say before you speak. Marcus Aurelius was one who exercised this self-discipline. As a reminder to himself, he included in his meditations the importance of maintaining patience and avoiding becoming annoyed by the opinions of other people, even when those opinions appeared to be silly or based on incorrect information. He was aware that direct dismissal of other people did not serve to improve his status, it just revealed his own lack of confidence. Similarly, when you react with the phrase, "I hear what you're saying," you are acknowledging the person without revealing your stance on the matter. You let them to understand that their concerns have been taken into consideration, but you maintain the authority to make the ultimate decision. In addition to this, this sentence is a great instrument for resolving disputes. The majority of individuals are not seeking rationality when they are in a heated situation. They are searching for validation. They desire to be assured that their perspective is of value. You can reduce tension by responding to what someone is saying with a calm statement such as, "I hear what you're saying." You take away the fuel that feeds their rage. They no longer feel as though they have to struggle to get their voices heard. They now feel acknowledged, and at that point you have regained control of the conversation. "Chance has never made a man wise" is a quote from Seneca that perfectly captures this equilibrium. Knowledge is something that is acquired via deliberate effort, and one aspect of knowledge is the ability to listen to others. The point is not to blindly agree with every opinion. Rather, it is to consciously make an effort to comprehend before responding to something. People will regard you as considerate, deliberate, and equitable if you put forth the effort to listen to them. Impulsive disruptions will never be able to generate as much respect as those qualities do. There is also another subtle force at play here. You collect knowledge by listening first. You become aware of the other person's motivations, anxieties, and techniques. Because of this knowledge, you are able to reply in a more efficient manner. It is common for a hurried reaction to overlook the more profound problem, whereas a patient ear reveals what is actually important. Furthermore, because your remarks are based on a complete comprehension of the situation, they carry significantly more weight when you ultimately decide to speak up. The use of this remark in a professional situation has the potential to completely alter the power dynamic within a meeting. Picture someone who is fervently trying to convince others of their point of view. You do not simply dismiss them out of hand. Rather, you meet their gaze and respond to them in a calm manner, stating, "I understand what you are saying." At that particular time, you establish yourself as a person who does not feel threatened, does not act defensively, and does not act dismissively. You are the one who is in charge, and you are maintaining a calm and collected demeanor while guiding the discussion. Therefore, the next time you are met with criticism, complaints, or strong opinions, make an effort to avoid the temptation to respond right away. Remain calm and stand your ground. Pay attention to what is being said, and when the time is perfect, be sure to communicate to them that you understand their point of view by saying something like, "I hear what you are saying." That simple word does more than just command respect. It creates it, brick by brick, through the calm strength of listening to others. Number 6. We'll move forward with my plan. Authority is not of any value if there is no direction. A person who genuinely embodies the qualities of leadership will first consider all of the possibilities, listen attentively, and then decide on the future course of action. When you say, "We will continue with the plan that I have devised," you are communicating to everyone else involved that you have taken their suggestions into consideration, but that you are ultimately responsible for making the final decisions. The statement in question is not intended to convey a sense of arrogance, but rather a sense of determined action. Stop wasting your time arguing about what constitutes a good man. Marcus Aurelius once told himself as a reminder, "Be as one." In the same way, do not waste time debating what ought to be done over and over again. Make a decision and then take action. Even if people do not completely agree with decisiveness, they nevertheless admire it. This is due to the fact that in circumstances where there is little certainty, clarity of direction is of greater value than indefinite compromise. Another quote from Seneca that illustrates his emphasis on the need of action over hesitation is, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Waste is manifested in several ways, one of which is through indecisiveness that lasts for a lengthy period of time. You slice through the haze of hesitation when you announce, "We will proceed with my plan of action." You demonstrate that you prioritize advancement over remaining in a state of inaction. This does not imply that the opinions of others should be disregarded. You have already given them a chance to express their point of view by the time you use this term. You have allowed reason and perspective to influence the choices that you have made. However, after that decision has been taken, you drop anchor and set sail. Inner conviction was held in high regard by the Stoics. They believed that once reason had completed its task, the following stage was commitment. In any organization, respect automatically gravitates toward the individual who is bold enough to take on the role of leader. The majority of individuals are afraid of accepting complete responsibility because they are aware that if things do not work out, they will bear the brunt of the blame. However, the Stoic mentality prepares you for this. Results are never completely in your control. Only your decisions and actions are. The things that are within our control include our opinions, pursuits, desires, and aversions. In short, anything that is the result of our own actions, Epictetus asserted. After you have come to a logical conclusion, the final result is no longer under your control. It is now in the hands of fate. You demonstrate your strength when you calmly declare, "We will proceed with the plan that I have put together." You are not someone who is shy or someone who is overbearing. You are the kind of person who listens, considers, and then makes a decision. Furthermore, in a world where the majority of people shy away from taking on definitive responsibility, such calm authority commands a great deal of respect. Number 7. That will be all. The statement that is used to bring an end to the conversation by declaring that it is over is this one. It does not allow for any questions or discussions. It is steadfast and it is self-assured. That will be all communicates power without a hint of hostility. It demonstrates that you are the one who determines when the talk is over. Individuals frequently undermine their own authority by allowing conversations to continue for an excessive amount of time. They believe that they have no other option except to provide explanations for themselves, justify their decisions, or address never-ending objections. However, the ability to recognize when enough has been said is a sign of strength. You can establish yourself as someone whose word is credible and trustworthy by ending conversations in a tidy manner, without apologizing or hesitating. Seneca cautioned against engaging in constant conversation, telling us that life is very short and anxious for those who forget the past, neglect the present, and fear the future. The moral of the story is that it is not a good use of your time to engage in drawn-out discussions. Finish them with a sense of authority and then go on to the next thing. A conclusion that is straightforward and succinct demonstrates that you appreciate time, both your own and that of others. Marcus Aurelius also repeated this discipline of economy in speaking, writing. Let your words be few and well chosen. That will be all is the perfect embodiment of this concept. It embodies the very essence of both brevity and control. Explanations that are not absolutely necessary. Emotional extremes of any kind are not allowed. Nothing more than a calm resolution. Epictetus instructed that the first step in achieving dignity is to be in control of one's own self. You show that you have control over your inclinations to debate or to provide excessive explanations if you conclude a discussion in a decisive manner. You establish the tempo, you establish the limits, and you demonstrate that respect is achieved via self-control and not through domination. And before we wrap things up, if you have found these lessons, which were inspired by Stoicism, to be beneficial, you should click on the subscribe button right now so that you do not miss out on any future tactics for developing strength, respect, and calm authority. Respect is not something that can be commanded simply by increasing the loudness of your voice. Rather, it is something that is earned through the weight of your presence. The belief that true strength is a calm, measured, and controlled force that is based on self-mastery was shared by Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, who all taught it to their students. These 7 phrases are tools that you may use to help you embody that strength. Use them in a responsible manner. When you speak, say less, but imply more. Maintain your composure and avoid shouting. You will also be able to observe the change in the way that people start to interact with you, due to the fact that respect is not something that you can demand in the end. It is something that you order in a calm manner.